Nobody would have believed in the last years of the 41st millennium that the universe was being watched keenly and closely by intelligences far less than any man's, and probably as mortal as his own. That, as the Adeptus Astartes busied themselves in their various concerns and conquests, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite currency, men went to and fro about this globe, watching their little men, their tiny affairs, serene in the assurance of their empire over matter. In other words...
Welcome to the Fluffenhammer. Roll the music!
But I think we've officially been doing this too long. I was listening to that exact album.
Really?
The other day, yeah. We've been doing this way too long. There's some sort of Zechen or Elderi kind of like mind link going on, I think. Yeah.
No, what's actually happening is, we are the swarm. We are the hive.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Oh, it's going more Tyrannid then. It's going more Tyrannid. Yeah. It's the collective hive intelligence, right? Yeah. Okay.
At some point there will be just the fluff mind as all of the community just draws itself together into one.
I just had a hideous image of like tendrils coming from the laptop, sort of biomechanically, and just wow. And that's the last state of humanity. It's just like the big heaving mass of the Fluffenhammer that consumes all of the Earth, its biomatter and everything.
Yeah, it's
not as terrible a thought, really. Well, I mean, I could deal with that.
Well, if it all became just one intellect that all had one overriding goal. Yeah,
I know that this is way. It's not way beyond. It's not way outside the usual subject matter for this podcast. I mean, we are talking about like the 41st millennium and all that kind of stuff. But in transhumanist terms, for me that would be like the ultimate realization of transhumanity. Surely. Well, some sort of technology or some sort of genetic manipulation that allows us to act in a wireless sense. Yeah. So we are not individual entities. We can perceive from the perspectives and the experiences and the biases of other human beings to the point whereby the notion of I dissolves. So we can't determine what's separate, Surely that's an ultimate realization of transhumanity, and one that is eminently desirable in many respects.
Well, what you talk about there is the singularity event.
It's the creation of God, isn't it? It's the creation of if there's anything that's worthwhile calling God, in reality, that would be it. That intelligence would be it, because it would be a singular intelligence. It would just have all of the experience, all of the neuroses and all of the history of humanity itself.
Yeah, what you have is the bubbling, crazed atomic fire that's at the centre of the universe.
Yeah, so cool.
Azathoth.
So cool. Yeah, it is kind of an Azathoth kind of state,
it's
isn't it?
It's the only way it could exist, when you've got that much information, that much conflicting mentalities all pushing against each other, even though it's all the same mind. What you get is the bubbling mind of Azathoth. You don't have... No matter how clear the single purpose is. The moment you start adding in conflicting viewpoints and conflicting emotions, what you then get is massive neurosis.
So let's boil it down. Let's say on an individual level that there is some technology that's developed, like an implant in the brain or something to that effect, or a development of the central nervous system whereby you can see someone walking down the street and you know them.
Mm-hmm.
You know them instantly. You know everything about them. There's no such thing as secrets anymore. It's a fascinating state to operate in, is it? Because that would necessarily change the status of humanity. Everything would change. If you knew all of the unspoken stuff about human beings, all of the problems, the neuroses, the traumas that they're suffering, then suddenly you have no hostility anymore. You suddenly have this state of almost perfect empathy. That would be very interesting, especially if you could experience their traumas as your own.
You've opened up a whole idea here.
That's a utopian idea. I actually wrote a utopian story about this exact thing, but not to promote too much, but it's actually appearing in a collection called Citizen of Nowhere very soon.
That's
cool. But it's it's something that I really like to think about. You know, it's the potential for technology beyond its like capitalist commercial. Potential or the potential of convenience. That's what really fucks me off about technology, quite frankly, under capitalism, which is it's all about convenience. It's what can make us fatter or more bloated and lazy, basically. I'm not interested in that. What interests me is what can transcend us. What makes us more than human, you know? Because that, for me, it seems entirely necessary. I mean, even if it's impossible, it seems an entirely necessary endeavor. If we were to avoid extinction, if we're to free ourselves from the cycles of history, we need to free ourselves from the limitations of our biology. That seems eminently reasonable
Very much
to
so.
me.
The problem is we have removed ourselves from the natural cycle of things. We have used the technology that we've managed to build over the last 300, 400 years to adapt the world around us to the shape that we need to see fit. As a result, we ourselves don't need to adapt in order to fit the world. Because of that, the lack of evolution creates a stagnation within us as a species. And that stagnation means that we don't move forward anywhere. So the only way that we can do it is by transcending through technology. The next evolutionary standpoint will not be a biological jump. It will have to be a technological one. And we're seeing it now. We're seeing it now with things like pacemakers, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's already started to happen. We've already started to integrate our technology into ourselves. But it seems to me that eventually that will move back. So for me, it seems like the next really big quantum leap in technology is a move away from synthetics towards genetic manipulation. So what if and that is very possible. That's very plausible. Since we mapped the genome, that's entirely plausible, you know? The notion of making an immortal human, for example, one who doesn't age, is not magical science fiction anymore. It's been done with rats. There are certain animals that already have that capacity, like koi, for example. Koi carp live forever as long as they don't get afflicted with disease or wounds or whatever. So it's locating those factors within humanity or creating them within humanity. But beyond that, what if we can create like a genetic situation where there is a natural network? Like the biological equivalent that evolves naturally or develops naturally that allows us to communicate in a wireless sense.
Yes.
I mean, that is basically, we would be creating a kind of magic and miracle through technology, something that human beings have been dreaming about and fantasizing about and deluding themselves that they can do for centuries, which is communicating mind to mind. Yeah.
Well, this is what I was going to ask.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing.
We are going to get to the 40k stuff shortly.
By the way, we are going to get into that.
However, this is a conversation that is so very, very close to what I love to discuss that I'm not going to let it go anytime soon. Right, there's a difference between... right, let's split hairs. Okay. First and foremost... you're talking about telepathic communication, the ability to...
In a way, yes. I mean, it is kind of telepathic, but it's not in the traditional sense, because it would be very rational and very and based in pre-existing technology. It's the way we're communicating now. Yes. It's just an evolution of that, but it removes the peripherals.
Yeah, you don't need the air in the throat.
Exactly, and we're moving towards that already. I mean, the fact that this computer isn't linked up by a wire to the telephone is a move towards that.
I'm not going to lie, Wi-Fi I still don't fully understand, and it scares me.
I don't either. I have no idea how it works. I don't get the mechanism of it.
No.
You know, I'm not sophisticated enough to understand how the mechanism works. How does the information flow, you know?
Why am I not just currently being attacked by binary as I walk across the room?
Yeah. It'd be fascinating if you could see it, wouldn't it?
Just ones and zeros everywhere.
If there was some sort of like glasses you could put on so you could see it, you know? I mean, it wouldn't even. I mean, now that I think about it, it wouldn't even need to be like something to do with the brain.
No.
What you could do is create a synthetic eye. Yeah,
Well, it's not even.
which can link up to the internet, which can link up to the internet via a mini computer that's inside of itself, and can access things like Skype, like whatever. Then you could communicate with anyone else who has that implant. You know, that would be a form of like what we would traditionally call not telekinesis but telepathy. Yeah.
Well, this is where I was going to go. The technological jump comes from the ability to, I don't know, you inject a small nano creature type thing into your system, and that allows you to do all of the stuff that you do with a PC. But just by thinking about it, you know.
Just by thinking about it. I mean, at the moment, that's very problematic in the current situation because, I don't want to get too political about it, but in the current systems, that would be too wide open for abuse.
Of course it is, yeah.
With the current structures, you would have the problem of bits of humanity being owned by companies.
Yes.
And being prey to the abuses of big corporations and companies, and I wouldn't want that.
Well, that's because, George, we are actually living in the cyberpunk future that we all thought would be cool when we were kids. But in reality,
it's actually really banal, yeah. It's really dull
Yeah.
and cruel and stupid and mean-spirited and whatnot. It's a problematic one because, of course, it's very difficult to discuss in the current climate.
Yes.
You can't even use terms like, say, capitalism or socialism without some kind of like hackle raising, and that's a real shame. That's a real shame, it seems to me. But it seems like under what we currently call capitalism, which is not, by the way, not in its purest sense, it's actually oligarchy and corporatism. That situation cannot be allowed to come about. Even though it would transcend humanity quite significantly, it just can't be allowed to come about because of the abusive nature of these structures.
Yeah, true.
So we are at a standoff. We're at an impasse where our technology can do it. I've no doubt it's probably already possible. I've very little doubt of that. It's theoretically at least possible to do something like that. But right now, our cultural and political situations haven't evolved along with the technology. They haven't adapted to it. We're still suffering under systems that are proto-Victorian.
Yeah,
you know?
Like conceptually, Right, we're going to come off this in a second.
Sorry guys. This is a Games Workshop podcast, by the way, and just to draw the tenuous link, 40k is kind of like the ultimate evolution of what we're talking about in many respects. This wholly abusive structure, whereby there isn't even a clear definition of humanity anymore in that status quo. Human beings can be born and lobotomized instantly to be good little workers, fulfill their function, and then wear out as and when,
The chances of servitors actually being a reality, I think we're getting closer and closer to.
We're hurtling towards it, I think. I mean, this is the problem for me. If that kind of technology ever becomes available, then it needs to become universally available. Like immediately. It needs to be something that everyone has access to. It cannot just be for the moneyed. No. Because the problem with that situation is that you get something like what's discussed in Altered Carbon, which is there's a great quote in that, which is one of the characters says something like, technology has now allowed the richest of us, the worst of us, to live forever, to become gods. So, and that is exactly it. And quite frankly, that synonym is absolutely correct under the current situations. The current systems allow not the best, not the cleverest, not the most not the most willing, not the best human beings, as they would have us believe, as the meta-narratives would have us believe. It's the cruelest, the most psychopathic, the most narcissistic that aspire under the current systems. And they are the ones that would benefit from this.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It's why the system needs to be broken down before we can.
You
move
can't
forward.
have it. You can't have it. It cannot be allowed. But that is what would happen. And the worst of it is, it may have already happened. Just to get, slightly conspiracy theorist about it, it's quite possible that it's already happened to a certain degree. I have no doubt that there are, medical advances that are only available to the rich,
Oh, of course there is, yeah.
It just wouldn't surprise me in the least. It wouldn't surprise me in the least, especially when you consider what great business sickness is,
Yeah, especially in some of the other countries in the world. I did not expect to start off with a cold open from War of the Worlds, get into a conversation about futuristic sociology, and then...
Well, to be fair, it is H.G. Wells, and that is what he wrote about. That is what he wrote about. He wasn't just a science fiction writer, he was a futurist. He used to write about future situations, and he actually preempted a lot, He
did.
The Blitz, for one thing.
You know what?
He actually predicted the Blitz. I mean, obviously, because he was Victorian, he was writing not about planes, but about Zeppelins and things like that. But he preempted the Blitz and lots of other stuff, too.
I do believe the world would be a much better place if we had never built planes, but we all still use Zeppelins.
Just have them...
You know what?
Yeah, they're pretty. They are very pretty. I like to see them in the sky.
Yes. Unfortunately, they don't stay up there for very long.
No, they do not. No, by all accounts, no, and they're lethal. I mean, there's that. They're absolutely bloody lethal, I
think at some point doing a Patreon show about H.G. Wells would be quite a good one. I've got a love of H.G. Wells.
It would be interesting. Yeah. It would be very interesting. I've spoken about him before on various podcasts. I did an episode on utopian fiction with Rowan Fortunewood not too long ago, and we talked about H.G. Wells and his utopianism, which was fascinating. Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. But if you do read him, guys, you're going to have to get your proper head on because he's really difficult to read.
He is.
He's really difficult to read. He's very Victorian, very polysyllabic. It's like every sentence is comprised of polysyllables. So words that don't just have 2 or 3 syllables, that have 4 or 5, basically.
The fun thing about doing this kind of work, and especially the stuff that I've been talking about this week, I don't know if you listened to it, but one of the things I listened to is another podcast called Mysterious Universe, and they were talking about how Lovecraft might have actually not been just a half-crazed little man, but he might have actually had insights into something else.
Yeah, there's a lot of this stuff around. There is actually there are cults. There are actually, and I was actually really. This is something for the Creeks, by the way, Adam.
Yeah.
There are actually people out there who think that Lovecraft's stories are kind of gospels. That he presented them as fiction, but he was actually channeling something outre, something that actually exists out there in the universe, which is a little weird. Not necessarily, not as terrible as people think. I mean, given the current banality of British culture, if I had the option of calling down elder things from beyond the stars, I would absolutely do it.
Oh, yeah. Anything to smash the system and do something interesting.
Absolutely. Well, it's not even the system, it's the status of humanity. It's this obsession with banality, which I think is corroding our collective sanity. It's making us all culturally senile. I do believe
a really good way of putting it.
It's making us all, if not culturally senile, then culturally Alzheimer's, demented. It is corroding our acuteness and our capacity for analysis, for communication, for imagining better.
Yeah.
It's a real problem. It's a real problem. It's just to create a segue, I suppose, but also very true. It's where the 41st millennium finds itself, where it's not looking forward anymore, as it was in the 31st millennium, in the Great Crusade. It's just stagnant. It's like it's surviving, and that's all that matters. Even though that doesn't mean anything. Why? Does anybody in the Imperium ever stop to think, well, why?
Yeah.
Why does humanity have to survive? Yeah. So what? What if humanity is devoured by the Tyranids? What if humanity is destroyed by the Eldari or consumed by chaos? So fucking what?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's not as though humanity has done a great deal that's good in this universe, is it?
Not in the concepts of the 40k, no.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
No, in reality, I'm not going to get into that, actually.
Well, we haven't really got there yet. That's all up in the air in reality. We just don't
it's all
know.
up in the air because that's where space is.
Yeah, well, we just don't know. We just don't know, do we? I mean, we just don't know. We might before we reach a situation, let's say, akin to the 41st millennium, like where we're exploring worlds and maybe even other realities. Who knows? We might destroy ourselves, or some cosmic event might come and wipe us out. We just don't know. We do not know. It's all up in the air. Everything's to play for still. You know.
No.
Everything's still to play for in our situation. The 41st millennium, it's not. In the 41st millennium, we know the metaphysics, we know the extent of the universe, we know what horrors are out there, and we know what humanity is now. And it's this pathetic little species that just happened to get lucky, you know? And it's not only this pathetic little species, it has no wider purpose.
No, that's an interesting way of looking at it. There's a certain mentality, and I had to deal with it this week on a training course.
Oh, what fun.
Oh, high-level theory. Oh, good grief. I've never felt so dumb. But one of the questions I got asked was, why am I here?
Yeah.
What is my purpose of existing? And I'm not going to lie, I really struggled with that one. It's like...
Well, anyone with any real comprehension of what that means will struggle with that one. Because you've got to break it down. I mean, you've got to go Marcus Aurelius on it. You've got to break down the terms, you know? What do you mean when you ask that? What is purpose? What do you mean by that?
Is it the purpose that I'm giving myself? Is it trying to say...
Is it a prescribed purpose, like, say, as the religious would have it, you know, that we have a divine purpose? Is it a cultural purpose or a narrative purpose? Not only that, but you have to question the assumptions of the question. Yeah. Why do I even need a purpose? Yeah. What does that mean? You know?
You could talk about that from the point of view of, is there a purpose that... is a purpose the concepts that I have to bring to the society around me? Do I have a responsibility and an obligation? Is that a purpose? But that when you take that question and you push it out into thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon millions upon millions upon billions upon billions upon trillions of people, all spread out through the universe,
all of whom are like born and die arbitrarily, you know,
where the concept of your society is that you are less than nothing, you are the fleck of dirt, you know. It's not even the 1% that manages to go off and do something. It's the 0.0000001% who manage to claw themselves out of the dirt, and the 0.00001%
and even that is largely
1% of that are the ones that manage to claw themselves up the spire. You know.
And even that is largely due to like accident and inheritance. It's not to do with like aspiration. By and large, not in that society. Arguably not in this society either, but certainly not in that society. Like most of the governors, like planetary governors and the aristocracy of the 41st millennium are born to it.
They are. But if you think
about... Their families, you know.
Think about a planetary governor in 40k. Right? A planetary governor is one among billions.
Billions, it's uncounted. It literally is uncounted, isn't it?
I'm just talking as, you know, among billions of planetary governors.
Not
even getting into how many people are around him on the planet.
Swarms of humanity, the oceans of humanity.
And it's when you start thinking about things of that kind of scale, where a planet can be exterminist without
arbitrarily,
without a second thought.
It can be arbitrary. An inquisitor can go onto a planet and think, oh, that person looks a little weird. I better exterminate this entire population.
And it's a world is a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
We're talking about a society of just massive numbers, and those massive numbers have to be fueled somehow. And they're fueled by, to really... get into my sort of humanist mentality, they're fueled by grinding down the bones of everybody underneath.
Exactly. It's a human sacrifice, essentially, isn't it?
It's a conveyor belt of sacrifice, you know.
Yeah, it's essentially it, That's essentially it. It really is an awful situation. It's entirely dystopian. And it's something that I really like about the Horus Heresy series, actually, the fact that it draws this parallel. So when you go back to the 31st millennium, it's the entire opposite.
Yeah.
Humanity is flowering, it's blossoming, it's in its like youth, it's utopian. It is looking forward to what it can be, to what it can build, to creating the most brilliant, beautiful, artistic societies where every human being has the capacity to have ease and plenty and pleasure and to aspire to become better than what they are. It's entirely the opposite.
That's the cool thing about 31st. It's seeing the rising and the apex of a society, of a race.
Well, you do get the apex as well, don't you? Because you get like Tizca, for example, on Prospero. Tizca is like the highest principle of the Imperium. It to me anyway, Tizca is where it's at. It was, before the Space Wolves got to it, it was the civilization that most exemplifies, alongside Ultramar, of course, Macragge, it exemplifies what the Imperium could have been or what it could have made of humanity, which is a status quo where every human being is not just they're not a functionary. They're an artist, they're a philosopher, they are a thinker, they are beautiful, they are something beautiful,
Yeah.
From the least to the greatest. That's what it could have been. But it wasn't, unfortunately.
But it is not to be. It goes horrendously wrong.
It goes horrendously wrong.
Very quickly after that.
I mean, the closest I think you could probably come to it in the present day is probably Macragge, isn't it?
Yes.
And Macragge, unfortunately, is not what it was. It is this very oppressive, theocratic society, unfortunately.
This, George, is why I love doing this show. Because for the last 25 minutes, instead of doing what we planned to do, we've just got into a conversation that
about
has
stuff,
massive concepts, and it's early on a Sunday morning.
Well, I like that. I mean, this is something I like about the material. It's the fact that it can be elevated,
Yeah.
In the same way any material technically can. You can do this with comic books, you can do this with superhero movies, you can do this with anything. You can look at the implications of it and you can make it more than it should have been, I mean, I was thinking recently about like Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet and all that nonsense, and what a stupid motivation he has and what an idiot he is. Because all he has to do, given his capacities, is just snap his fingers and make resources non-finite. And that's it. He doesn't have to commit genocide. The guy's an idiot. His motivation is awful. He is. He's a moron. I mean, the Malthusian stuff is ridiculous. It just doesn't fly for me. Anyway, that's an entirely other argument. Should we talk about Adepticon?
Well, before we get into Adepticon, I want to pull the curtains back a little bit. Last weekend, we actually sat and recorded quite a really good, jumpy, hoppy episode about Adepticon. Unfortunately, there was this weird noise, and George was swallowed by the pit of despair.
Yeah. I was just actually swallowed by the abyss or the warp or whatever like grand abyss or void you want to name, basically. It just gone, everything.
I mean, it led to a very interesting week because, I had to get Paul and Andy together. We had to armour ourselves up and fight ourselves into the realm of chaos and, drag you back inch by torturous inch. And,
kicking and screaming, I might add.
And you were there, look, I can be a demon prince. Look, I've got these cursed bag of nuts. And
it's awesome in there, by the way, ladies and gents. I highly recommend wandering the realm of chaos.
And then there we are, like, no, George, you can't have your magic bag of nuts. We've got to go back. We've got a show to record. We've got to talk about Adepticon. And it's like, no, but look at my wings.
Yeah, look at I mean, I was this close to the library, the Forbidden Library in Zisha's realm, and who knows what would have happened there.
But although we did learn one thing that day, that Paul Logan Blaze should never ever lick the crystals in the Crystal Palace.
No, I don't think anyone should, quite frankly. Not if you want to keep the general shape of your tongue and your mind.
Well, unfortunately, Paul now has tentacles.
And the rest of you, for that matter.
So somewhere Ron on the group is very happy because I sang the Tentacles song.
Yeah. So yes, basically there were problems. There were technical issues last time. Power cut. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
It really did. It was very odd.
Power cuts, everything. It was just like I remember that day, like when the power cut. I was like, yeah, of course there was a fucking power cut. It was just that it'd been that kind of week. It was just like, fine, okay, I don't care anymore.
No, I'm just going to sit here now and just drink rum until it it's time to go to bed. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right then, so there's
Adepticon.
There's two things I want to get into. There was a Black Library Weekender, which had some news in, and I want to quickly just go over that. I mean, it's not huge stuff.
Yeah, sure.
But then I really want to get into the Adepticon stuff, because there's a lot. Even though we're slightly out of date with it, there's a lot I want to talk about.
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be discussed.
Very much so. So in the Black Library Weekender, we're going to do this from bottom to top, I think.
Okay.
So I just realised I haven't actually sent you the link, because I'm a terrible host, and I couldn't be less professional if I tried. But that's okay. That's just fine.
It is the Fluffenhammer, you know.
Yeah, well, I should have sent you this earlier on, but then we got into a conversation about transhumanism.
This does happen, you know. This does happen.
What can I say? Yeah, once you start talking transhumanism and the singularity event, that's me. I forget everything else.
I mean, there was something here that really did catch my eye, because I knew you'd be very excited about it, which is, of course, Kim Newman's kind of return to the fold.
Yes.
You know, he's. By the way, ladies and gents, go and watch the interview with him about the Black Library stuff. It's really fascinating, really worth a look.
I'm hoping to be able to actually get the time to sit down and do that this afternoon. I really want to watch that. Between that and John Blanche talking on the Stormcast.
I don't know, Adam, whether it's like they've just done it like manipulated the photograph. But have you noticed that the new Drachenfels, they've deliberately aged and worn the cover?
It's got these wonderful cracks in it.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it looks like an old production.
There's two things standing out. First of all, I'm going to have to get it, because I've got every other rendition of Drachenfels. I've got every release to date. So I need to get this one, because it's still, to this day, probably my favourite fantasy novel. You know, it's an absolute work of beauty. There's a reason it keeps getting republished, you know.
Well, people have got a real sentimental attachment to Drachenfels, haven't they? I mean, I think for many people, it was probably the first novel they read in this universe, in these worlds, you know?
It's easily the first one that feels like a recognisable, even though it's not recognisable to the old world as the old world ended up being.
Oh God, no! This is like proto old world.
Oh yeah, I mean this is pre-Nagash, you know.
Yeah, there wasn't even like big villains. There were not like big named villains here at this point. No. They were just like there was the situation and the setting.
Well,
and that was
it's all built out of the original Warhammer Fantasy roleplay. That's what created Drachenfels and the Vampire Genevieve. Also, I find it really fun that it's got Drachenfels, a Vampire Genevieve novel.
Yes, because Genevieve has gone on to subsume the whole thing, hasn't she? She became the most popular character.
That's because she's a brilliant character. In all honesty, she is, to this day, I think, one of the finest, if not the finest female character in...
Kim Newman, in the interview, talks about the creation of Genevieve, and he says, like, he the only reason he made her a vampire, it was not considered at all. It's just because he needed her to look the same, like, several centuries later than she does when she's introduced.
Yes, yeah.
And he was like, so how can I do this? I can make her an elf. That's boring. Vampire. And then apparently what happened was he went to Games Workshop and said, can I do this? And they said, well, vampires don't really work like that in our law, but we'll just change the law.
Yeah.
We'll just change the rules. There you go. There you are.
See, that's interesting because there's a section in the book where Lily Nielsen, the aging female actress, she bursts through and just goes, I will no longer play this part as a leech. I will be what my beauty says I should be. I will be an elf.
Yes, this is it. He actually says in the interview that he introduced that concept into the book, like just as a joke, you know?
It's one of my favourite parts of the book, just because you've got the Dietloff just sitting there going, no.
I mean, don't get me wrong, ladies and gents. I mean, people who have who are used to the Black Library stuff might find this slightly puzzling, Drachenfels, because it not only is it a different old world than you're used to, it's totally different, really. It's also the writing is very different. It's very 80s, very pulp. Maybe not as good, you know, maybe not as like coherent, but it has a real charm.
It does, and it's so experimental. That's one of the things I love about it. It plays so much with so many different plates.
Well, and people who have gone on to read, like Kim Newman's career, this is where it started, technically. This is where it started. I mean, if you like Anno Dracula, which is a great series of books, by the way, this is where it began.
I mean, there's more going on here with Newman. The way that Newman writes, it's closer to something like Pratchett than it is to, like, Dabowski, you know.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, totally. It's slightly tongue-in-cheek, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's also a ton of concepts being thrown about here. You know, it's a pastiche of Dracula. It's also a huge parody, in some ways, of Shakespeare. You know, it plays around with the idea of how plays work and how... It's
a bit like Weird Sisters, isn't it?
It is very much like Lords and Ladies, maybe, actually, more than Weird Sisters.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on here. There's folklore being just put through the ringer. It's not... The book itself isn't just A to B, here is our bunch of heroes and off they go to do their things. There's a lot of holding things up to the microscope and poking them to see if they break.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, of course, at this point, Games Workshop didn't know what they wanted from this stuff.
Exactly.
It was just like whatever they could get, really. It was just like, what works, let's put it out there, you know? Because it was so loose back then, so little was established about the universe that they could kind of do what they liked.
Yeah, totally. One of my favourite parts in the book is they're talking about the Grey Monks. Do you remember the Grey Monks at all in the 13th Caravan?
God,
right,
no.
Okay. So basically, there's a sequence, and the two of them don't really tie together, but it's great. So you've got the Grey Monks, where these the souls of people who Drachenfels had killed, and they're just floating along, just do. Don't go to the castle. Woo, proper Scooby-Doo style ghosts. They're fantastically fun. And the follow-on from that is that, no, that's got nothing to do with Drachenfels. This castle's just really haunted. For example, at the Elector Count, the young Elector Count, the Prince, he just starts talking about all the ghosts that live in his home castle.
Yeah, that just happen to live in his castle, because they do. It's just the way it is.
It's like, hang on, what?
Yeah,
there's just one up there. It's a little baby. He's got no head. Just screams all the time. What?
That's it. They're just there. They're ambient, aren't they? They're just there.
And there's a 13th caravan, but there's only 12 caravans. No matter how many caravans you count, there's 13. But they only brought 12, and they can never work out what the extra caravan is. It's fun. I like that. Never ever gets explained.
No, I like that. It's cute.
Yeah, it's just they keep parking up the caravans. Just go, why do we always have one left over? This doesn't make sense. It's brilliant. But anyway, I could talk about Drachenfels. In fact, speaking of Patreon shows at some point, that's one I think we really should do. We should sit and talk about Drachenfels and Genevieve.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. That could go on forever about that. I mean, that would lead into Kim Newman's wider career.
Yeah, it would. It would. Because I love this book. It is, to this day, it's one of my favourite books. And unlike a lot of the other ones at the time, like the Conrad trilogy or things like that. Conrad, it's terrible.
It's unreadable, isn't it? It is actually unreadable.
It breaks my heart to say that, because when I was a kid, I loved the Conrad books. They were fantastic.
Of course, because you have no real critical capacity at that point, do you? It's like you haven't got the context to understand that this is actually really bad writing.
It's terrible. It is absolutely awful. And it's got the worst ending ever in any book, and it angers me that it's there. But anyhow, Drachenfels. Also coming out, there's a few other things under the Warhammer horror. Which really interests me.
Very interested indeed in that, I've got to say, because it is, I think we discussed briefly before, it's a melding of two of my favourite things. Yeah. It's horror and the Warhammer universes, and they're perfect for it. They're perfect situations. I mean, horror is innate anyway, so why not?
So what we've got here is something that really interests me, because this is the problem here, right? I've read a few of this guy's books and I can never pronounce his name, so I'm going to apologise in advance. Peter Verhaeghe.
Yes.
I think. I've read a few things by this man. The Dark Coil, for example. Firecast is a decent enough book. But what I'm really interested in, and what his strengths lie, is he comes across as being a man who understands Lovecraft.
Oh, well, that's perfect, isn't it? That's perfect, because it's a Lovecraftian universe at core, so why not, yeah?
And why this interests me is, I don't mean that he understands Lovecraft in the way of big gribbly monsters and tentacles.
Yeah, he understands the metaphysics, he understands the madness, the forbidden knowledge, all of that kind of thing, presumably. The psychology?
That's the perfect way of doing it. He understands the effect that the cold, unfeeling universe has on the person. Not on the species, but on the person.
On a person, on the individual psyche, which of course, is the effect that the Lovecraftian metaphysics has on individual minds is exactly the same kind of effect that chaos has on individual minds. So, it's perfect. It's a perfect discipline to come to this universe with.
Yeah. So when you've got a book where the entire purpose, and this is, by the way, Requiem Infernal.
Yes, Requiem Infernal, which looks very interesting. I've got to say, a beautiful book. Oh, yeah. Beautiful looking book.
The cover is beyond beautiful.
It's great,
I quite like the fact, look, Sisters of Battle. I wonder why they're doing the Sisters of Battle book.
I wonder why they're doing that. I can't even imagine.
But the fact it's a horror book looking at the demands of faith in the 41st millennium. I'm in.
Please, this is the kind of stuff I love in the 40k fiction.
And if you're going to get someone to write something that is about how the demands of faith affect you, and how the corruption of the never-ending fight against the darkness will get to you at some point, you cannot keep it at bay. Peter Verharvey is the guy to write it, and I am over the moon, and I cannot wait for it.
Very cool. I will definitely look forward to that, actually. I will probably review it for one of the various websites I write for, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one.
I mean, most of the other stuff is largely reprints, isn't it? I mean, we've got Ruin Storm by David Annandale, which is a good book. It's actually one of the latter-day Horus Heresy books. It's kind of the end of the Unremembered Empire. And also features lots of the Loyalist Primarchs. You actually get a really close focus on the likes of Sanguinius and Robert Gilman, and I think Lehman Russ is knocking about there too. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good book. It's not too bad at all. It's not one of the strongest of the Horus because it's transitional. It's about moving the characters from the Unremembered Empire into the material universe again. So. It's interesting. It's a decent enough book, and you get a lot of the wonderful metaphysics of chaos and whatnot going on there too. It's okay. It's not bad.
Yeah. We've also got the Palace of Memory and Other Stories.
Which is a compilation, I believe.
If it's now I need to look into this, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yes, it's an omnibus.
Yes, because it seems to be these are it's a collection of some of the ones that have been released through Audible that are just short to download, like half an hour long, 45 minutes long. And the Queen of Blood one is fantastic.
Right, okay.
Because it's the story is that if it's the one I'm thinking of, Neferata goes to this town that built this wall that keeps the dead out.
Right.
And she's not happy about it. And so there's a guy, and he's basically melded to a bell tower.
Okay.
And he was put into the chains of this bell tower as a child, and as all of the firstborn of his family are, and he keeps the place safe. And she just...
Oh, I see. So he's the guardian. Yeah. Again, as I believe we've discussed a lot, that's such a Dark Souls concept.
Oh, very much so.
It's such someone that at the Games Workshop, I'm telling you, they're Dark Souls fans.
Without a doubt.
I cannot emphasize that enough. They are Dark Souls fans, and that's a good thing.
But it's one of my favorite storytelling techniques, where it's she just comes in, sits down, and talks him out of it.
It's cool.
She just
I like that.
Breaks him down just with words, and it's so good.
I like to see the ostensibly negative characters, the bad guys, doing stuff like that, where they're kind of reasonable, you know?
Yeah. She's only doing it because she's annoyed with the town for not giving her the correct tribute. There's another one, actually, if you ever get the chance. It's I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a story of an inquisitor and a guy who had been brought in for heresy.
Yes.
And it's
Which could mean anything, couldn't it? I mean, that's what I like about heresy in the 41st millennium. It could mean that, I don't know, he looked at someone funny.
yeah. But
Or he wasn't wearing the right coloured hat on the right day.
But it reminded me a lot of the old Star Trek: The Next Generation episode. You know, there are 4 lights. It's really well done. I'll have to try and at some point I want to start reviewing a lot of the little shows because they're
absolutely,
some of them are
totally. I
fantastic.
mean, there's so much to work with as well. There's so much to do. I mean, beyond the big books like the Horus Heresy stuff, there's so much to work with here.
And speaking of things that are so much to work with,
oh god, that's huge. Carrack 8 Peaks, it's huge. I don't think I'll be able to get through that. It's enormous.
it is. Well, this thing dwarfs the Nagash book. You know, the Warhammer Chronicles Nagash. This is a huge collection.
Yes, focusing on the Skaven.
Well, it's Skaven and Skarsnik and the Dwarfs of 8 Peaks.
So it's an epic fight, this one. It's like a whole chunk of the old world's history.
Oh, yeah, well, I think the book takes over about 200 years. You know, it doesn't
Bloody
end.
hell.
You know, it keeps on going.
Yeah.
I only ever read the first part of it, I think, back in the day. I never got around to reading the other ones, and that was huge.
Yeah.
That was
I mean, something people need to be aware of when they're reading these omnibuses is they are the older books. So they're not dealing with the mortal realms by and large. They're dealing with the old world and the older setting.
What I'm hoping to see, and I don't think it'll happen, is that we get some kind of omnibus of Warhammer horror that's set in the old world.
Yeah, I mean, the old world is pretty good for horror because, of course, there are lots of different types of horror.
Yeah.
There's obviously Sylvania, you know, which is all gothic and vampires and zombies and whatnot. And then the more surreal horror to the north.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff to work with. There's also, like, the old sort of adventure-style horror, you know, like some sort of imperial archaeologist visiting Nehekhara or Khemri or whatever, delving into tombs and unlocking ancient evils and blah, 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 blah. The world is set up for that, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
It's set up for those templates to work.
But then again, I'm also really excited to see what horror looks like in AOS, because AOS really has, especially since Soul Wars, it has turned a sharp left.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Down.
I mean, it's... I'm imagining it's going to be way more surreal.
Yeah, anything
bigger,
that goes down the quantum horror route is automatically something I'm interested in.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be bigger and more metaphysical, my guess would be.
Yeah. So should we get onto the Adepticon stuff?
Adepticon, yes. I mean, speaking of the Age of Sigmar, we've got another really big shift happening. Again, as we were discussing before, the notion of the dynamic game system, but also of the dynamic lore. You have the Forbidden Power add-on, the expansion, which has got some really interesting stuff going on. I like the background. I like the notion that it's underneath Sheesh, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
There are these vaults of forbidden power that have been festering or fermenting there basically since the mortal realms were established and have now been discovered. So there are now these arcane instruments of death and destruction that can be harnessed by almost anyone. It's kind of cool.
What I'm interested in is, as much as, you know, the little bits of plastic look fantastic, you know,
they look great. I mean,
dude on
the
boat
endless
is
spells.
awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I know he's not Charon from Greek mythology, but that's basically what he is, isn't it?
Yeah, he really is. He's
the ferryman, you know, he's the ferryman across the River Styx. It's essentially what he is.
But even, like, the screaming Nagash face, it's just...
I love that.
I love him to bits.
I love the screaming Nagash
so much
face.
fun.
I think that's brilliant, yeah. I like the Khemrian look to them all as well.
Yes, the Khemrian look to everything.
They're doing with these what they did with the Flesh Eater courts, where they all had the Bretonnian influence, the unspoken Bretonnian influence. These things have got a Khemrian influence. Very clever.
I don't know what it is, but the big gyroscope type thing.
Yeah, what the hell is that? That looks very Sigmarite, doesn't it?
Yes, massively so. It'll be some kind of machine that absorbs magic or something like that.
Yeah, it harnesses lightning energy or the power of light or something like that. The power of the sun or something like that.
Or some kind of warp storm generator or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
something
whatever
like
it
that.
is, I want it for scenery because it
Yeah,
looks
it's great.
amazing.
I mean, it looks amazingly beautiful. It looks like it should move, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm looking at the picture now and working out, can I put a gimbal in it? Just so I can get it to have its own momentum and just move around.
Yes, to crank it up and make it work. Yeah,
that's a bad idea.
That'd be fun, wouldn't it? It'd be fun.
So what is it about Forbidden Power then that grabs you? Because I'm interested in what the narrative's going to be.
For me, it is the narrative stuff, because it's the notion that they are moving the game again after the Soul Wars, after the Soul Quake, Also, they're reintroducing Teclis.
Yes.
Which is kind of interesting, because, we haven't seen Teclis and Tyrion. We've heard a lot about them and what's happened to them since the old world.
Well, you know why, don't you?
Them.
Teclis went off to tie his shoelaces, and because of that, 4 of the other mortal realms exploded. He fell down a pit and accidentally created Zotes.
We know Teclis is a fuck up, yeah?
Teclis is a fuck up. He's a court jester, damn it.
Yeah, but on like a cosmic scale. He really is. I mean, he created the Ideneth, didn't he, and got that wrong as well.
Fact.
I mean, he can do nothing right. But what I'm interested in is, are they ever going to introduce them into the game like they have, the other godlike characters? Are we going to get the Teclis and Tyrion, the Lords of Light? I mean, I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
And with them, it may be a new species of elf, like the Light Elf, the elves that are made of sunshine or something.
I don't think you're going to get much in the way of elves of sunshine at this point. Although you make an interesting point, because if you think about how elemental a lot of the races have become, the Fire Slayers, who we'll get to shortly.
Which is heavily.
The Ideneth really are the element of water. The Fire Slayers are the element of fire. You've got a lot of wiggle room there to make elves of light, but them to be something very unsettling,
ambiguous, just like everything. I mean, they when you look at the description of the Realm of Light in the core rulebook, the Realm of Light is not what you would expect. It is not some paradise. It's this realm of illusions, and of spirits. It's not light as in illuminating. It's light as in blinding. As in distorting. So that's kind of interesting, and it's an obvious thing to do. It's an obvious thing to do eventually. As are the elves of Ulgu, the creatures of shadow. They could even introduce the mandrakes into that.
Yeah,
they could cross the mandrakes over from 40k because they fit into AOS perfectly.
Oh, without a doubt. I'm actually really excited and interested to see what the shadow elves are going to look like.
Me too.
Creatures of how does it go?
They're like smoke, aren't they? They're like smoke and shadow. They aren't physical. They're like spectres. They aren't. They're ephemeral. Which is kind of cool. And also, of course, if they do that, we'll get a model for... it's not Malekith anymore, it's Malarion, isn't it?
Because he's now one with his dragon.
He's a giant shadow dark elf dragon god.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes. Yeah, get that on your CV,
Yeah, it's cool, eh? So that would be fun. Anywho, moving on, we've got a bit of a surprise for me, anyway. I didn't think they would be doing the Duardin again so soon.
No, and I'm really excited for this because... Right, so when the Fire Slayers first hit, I wasn't a huge fan of them, I'll be honest. No. There was something in there that I didn't like very much, and I think it was that the first run of Battle Tomes were a little half-baked.
They weren't great. The first few battle tomes weren't great. I mean, I liked that they were really saying to the fan base, this is not the old world.
Yes,
okay?
Very much so.
Things have changed, But they needed a bit more, didn't they? They needed a bit more in terms of their elemental aspect.
Everything just needed to be fleshed out a little bit more, and I understand.
And maybe ramped up a bit more, maybe even more weird, maybe even more surreal. Take it further, make it more elemental,
But, I mean, the 1-2 punch of how good the battle tomes are at the moment, and they are astonishingly good.
It's the best run of army books,
without a doubt,
that Games Workshop have ever had at the moment.
I think
it's
so.
on in both game systems. It is out there. They are knocking it out of the park right now.
But between that and enough time has passed now where the Fire Slayers have actually been fleshed out in fiction as well, in various narratives.
Yes,
there's little things that interest me about them. Like I can't remember the name of the short story now. If memory serves me right, I actually called it the short-long story last time we discussed it.
You did, I think you did, yes. There was a whole bit about that, if I remember correctly.
Behind the curtain.
Which you will never hear,
Things you'll never hear.
You'll only hear it referenced, so there, sorry.
When a magma hold king dies, all the ergo that's in his body and in his hold gets taken away. Yeah, it's ripped out of his body, it's ripped out of his vaults, and it's redistributed throughout his family.
Okay.
So, all this like magic gold, the blood of Grimnir, it is taken from the corpse, and his eldest son, depending on the wills and whatnot, will either take a 2 share of everything that was both in his vault and in his body, to carry on his father's work, or the youngest son might be given a 1 share of both to go off and form a new hold somewhere.
Right, okay.
So it's this really interesting evolution. The idea that these magma holds, you don't get like the old dwarf holds, which was like, yes, we're going to stay here, we're going to hold on, and we're going to...
They're dynamic now, aren't they? They're kind of nomadic, they move, And it's like the Caradron Overlords, who are totally nomadic,
Yeah, I love the Caradron so much.
It's like they've said, okay, the dwarves have been like this for so long, they're stagnant now, let's do the opposite with them and see what happens.
But yes, I mean, the dwarves have been the dwarves. Yeah, they're almost the same dwarves that are in Lord of the Rings, and they are the same dwarves that are in Warcraft. It's the thing. There's a reason that those dwarves have existed so long. That archetype exists because it's really popular, and it's really popular because it exists. What you're seeing here is a massive evolution. So the base concepts are still the same. The idea of these gruff, bearded fellows that are as tall as they are wide and as wide as they are tall. The idea of the Slayers, which was one of Games Workshop's finest moments, that's been ripped off and nicked all over the place. It's now become very much its own thing with the Fire Slayers. But it's now being pushed, it's being evolved, it's becoming not just its own thing, but something that you'll sit there and go, how did you even come up with this as a concept?
Yeah, they've made them elemental, they've made them much more metaphysical, and they've heightened them. Yeah. They've heightened them quite significantly, which is cool. I mean, I would be interested in this battle tome because I want to see what they've done with them into background terms. I'll never play them, they're not really my thing, but I do want to know what they've done with them. And of course you've got these wonderful new models like the Forge thing, which is gorgeous, and the Fire Elemental.
That Fire Elemental is something beyond, I love it.
And they're kind of the equivalent of the endless spells, aren't they? Because of course the Duardin don't use spells, so they use runes and things like that. So yeah, it's cool, and that Forge is amazing.
I want that. I really do want that, just to have it as some form of scenery. It's just so cool, and I know full well it'll be massively expensive, and
of course
it'll drive me insane to paint because it's so detailed, but I don't care. Look at it. Look at his little teeth. His teeth are amazing.
I mean, there've been lots of surprises this time round. I was also surprised by the new battle box that they're releasing.
Yeah.
The Flora versus Fungus, which is a great dynamic, by the way. It's to really hammer home the Gloomspike gits, isn't it? Yeah. It's to emphasize them. But also the Sylvaneth, which have been kind of in the background for a while. They haven't really had a proper release for a couple of years now. So my guess is that they're also going to be updating their army book somewhere down the line.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Sylvaneth will be next in line, which is good because the Sylvaneth are another one that I'm really interested to see what they do.
Oh, I love them. I mean, once again, I hated the Wood Elves. I had no time for them. They were probably, if you could create a list of top to bottom, favourite armies in terms of their appeal to me, Wood Elves probably wouldn't even be on it.
No.
No. Because they were just not my thing. They were just not my thing at all. They were just the Mirkwood Elves from Tolkien, insofar as I could see. But the Sylvaneth are great. I like the Sylvaneth. I like their aesthetics. I like their ambiguity. The fact that they are these tree spirits, but they're these nature elementals, but they're very ambiguous, like nature itself. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I made the joke last time of how the world of Order, you've got these tree creatures that wander around and don't really care what happens to the fleshbots. You've got star lizards that come down to eat people. You've got soul-stealing fish elves. And,
you've got
the big guys who are, it's like, we are here to save humanity. Also, we're basically becoming robots.
Yep. And, of course, you have the Daughters of Cain, who are kind of like the most iffy of the forces of Order.
Yeah. We're good guys, he says.
Yeah, apparently.
She says, drinking somebody's heart. It's like, okay.
Yes, ripping the enemy's heart out and eating it raw, yeah.
For justice.
Yeah, apparently so.
But, I mean, there's so much going on with Sylvaneth. Stuff like the spites, which I'm not going to get into hugely, but if you really want to see what makes the Sylvaneth interesting, have a look at the spites. They're just horrible little creatures that have no idea of morality.
Well, they've looked at old fairy tales, haven't they?
Massively
and old folklore for the Sylvaneth. I mean, that's what they've gone to, and they've really got like the ambiguity of those old tales, how threatening and frightening they could be.
Yeah.
So it works very well, I've got to say, and the models are fantastic.
They really are.
The Sylvaneth models are just out of this world.
I can't remember what they're called, but there's one of them, and it's like a tree body, but they've always got like ghost elves coming out the front.
Yes,
and they just
they're
make me
gorgeous.
Think of the tales of like the Will-o'-the-Wisps and stuff like that.
Yep.
What else have we got? We've got some stuff.
Oh, the new Caradron for the for Shadespire. Oh, Nightvault. Yes, Warhammer Underworlds. Yeah, anything Caradron related is cool.
They really are. They are absolute buggers to paint.
I can imagine, because there's lots of bits.
Yeah, they're really gribbly.
Mind you, that said, they are all metal, so you can get away with just dry brushing them.
You can, but trying to get them up to any kind of standard is so difficult.
Very hard.
Yeah,
I can imagine, because
difficult.
Metal can be a bit unforgiving if there's too much of it. It looks like flat.
Yeah.
It is difficult to get right, you know?
Mm-hmm. The amount of times I've stripped down the Caradrons to try and repaint are... Just
and like
painful.
Conceptually, because they are primarily metal, it's trying to introduce like spot elements, things that make them pop.
Yeah, very much so. Because if you paint the metal in different colours, they look good, but they don't look as metallic anymore. And then you're trying to paint the cloth, but there's so much metal there that it's really hard to get the cloth to look good. It's
yeah.
But on the other hand, I love them to bits, and they're
great. I mean, they are a very good evolution of the dwarfs.
Yes, as we said before. Have you ever looked at the Caradron Code?
Oh yeah,
It's
hilarious.
It makes me hilarious. So happy.
They're so like narcissistic, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's no emotion at all. It's all about greed. It's all about what they are just like Mammon, aren't they? They're just about what they can get.
Yeah.
And that's it. But they've made a philosophy out of it. It's like a religion to them. So if like one of your ancestors squibbed them on a bill or something, or shortchanged them, you can look forward to a full force of Caradron overlords turning up on your doorstep, demanding recompense with interest.
Well, we discussed it last time. The idea of a short story where once every 50 years or so, a Caradron fleet just comes up and bombs the hell out of your town. And
you don't know why.
You haven't got a clue why.
You don't know why, but it's because some ancestor insulted them by I don't know, giving them a bad deal or something.
Didn't pay enough for the sheep skins or something. Yeah, something really ridiculous.
Brilliance. Absolute brilliance.
There's I don't know if you've read any of Overlord of the Iron Dragon.
I haven't, no.
And there's a short story that goes with it as well. But there's some absolutely wonderful moments of like these ghouls, the flesh eaters, coming up through this crashed ship. It's like, rah, 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 rah. And you just got this point where this miserly captain just stands there, looks at them, works out how much each of his shots is going to cost him, works out how much each of his crew is going to cost him, and reacts accordingly.
Brilliant. So that's the core of them, isn't it?
That's
the core
ridiculous, but so brilliant at the same time.
You know the worst of it as well. The crew would understand.
Yeah,
they would be like, "Oh, don't waste the expensive bullets on these things. No. We'll put ourselves at risk," because that's what they're like.
Yeah, it's just profit before anything.
Absolutely. They've made like profit into a religion, basically, these guys. They're kind of fun in that regard.
Yeah.
They are cool.
There's so much about them I love, though. There's a wonderful sequence in Bone Desert where Gotrek comes across them. And he's just on the line of, this is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I can't imagine Gotrek being like an old-style dwarf is best pleased with them. Because they're basically the dwarfs without the honour.
Yeah, very
they?
much so. There
The
is
honour's
honour
been
there,
stripped
but
away.
the honour is to do with merchandise. Yeah.
It's to do with money, isn't it?
Merchandising.
It's to do with honest dealing, because they are honest. I mean, they will deal straight. They're not like they are out for what they can get, but it's within a very particular framework.
Yeah, because if you cross somebody and get in a deal, then that person is going to think badly of you and your deals and your house.
Yeah.
So you've got to be honest in dealing.
Yeah, they would consider it blasphemy, wouldn't they? They would consider it blasphemy if one of their own gave a bad deal or tried to shirk someone. They'd consider it blasphemy. So yeah,
I love them. I love them to bits. They're so good.
And we've also got this Warcry thing.
Well, this is the big one.
This is the skirmish game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a very strong chance I think that Warcry might end up being my most played game.
Right. Okay. Well, the little skirmish games are doing very well.
I love skirmish games. They're quick. You can get a load of narrative out of them, which is the most important thing to me in any game.
Yes, absolutely.
And the thing,
but they're also, I mean, they seem to be using them as an excuse for developing the existing races as well.
Yes.
Like moving them on and exploring the little sort of unspoken areas of these races. Which is kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The ability to play around, and this is what a corrupted ogre looks like. This is what a dwarf that falls to chaos looks like nowadays.
Yeah, or like this is another culture that has fallen to chaos, and it exhibits its chaotic nature in a very different way.
Yeah, I mean, what we've got here, these guys do not look anything like what we've seen so far. You know, these are not the Blood Rakers of Khorne. These are not the Acolytes of Tzeentch.
They're completely removed. They're their own culture, and they look great. I mean, I love the facelessness of them. I love the masks and whatnot. You may even be hard pressed to identify that they are chaos unless you knew better. You know?
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing because it means that
not at all.
You're opening up.
It didn't.
It
introduces a new aesthetic. Yeah. It's fine, you know.
Yeah, the Big Daddy aesthetic, because I get such a medieval Bioshock out of these guys.
Oh God, yeah, they do look like that, very much.
But also a strangely Mesopotamian look to them as well.
Yeah, there's an archaic quality to them. Isn't there like an ancient world quality to them, which I rather like. But I mean, I know the thing that excites you the most.
Well, the little look at him. He's a Chaos Dwarf. There's a Chaos Dwarf, and not only have they made it look like he's got a big hat by sticking a big point on the top of his head, which is awesome. So that's there. But you've also got a really cool metal beard, which is
he's got an emulated beard. So he's designed to reference the Chaos Dwarfs, isn't he?
He really is, and
which is cool, you know.
It's like there's tons and tons of elements here, and I'm sure that they started with this guy and worked backwards to make the rest of them. I am convinced of it.
I mean, what wouldn't surprise me is if they're using this guy as a test bed to see how people react, and you know, there may very well be Chaos Dwarfs following this aesthetic.
If it means I get Chaos Dwarfs in this aesthetic, I'll buy 15 with this box set.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. The way they're going at the moment, it wouldn't surprise me at all, and they would be a welcome addition. To the Mortal Realms. I would love to see that.
Definitely. Also, the ogre. Look at that ogre.
Yeah, he's awesome, isn't he? With his lack of hands,
with crushy arms and spiky fist.
Yeah, he's going to be like just a war machine, isn't he? Just like a siege engine. Yeah. I'm
actually really excited for Warcry. There's a load of rumours kicking around about how Warcry is going to work, and I'm really excited. It seems to be taking the best of what they've learned from the Path to Glory stuff, and from the skirmish rules that they released for both AOS 1.0 and for Soul Wars, the stuff that they put out through White Dwarf.
And ramping it up. Yeah.
What excites me about that is both of those game systems are so narrative based.
Yeah, I mean they're basically adaptations of the old systems from the ancient Realms of Chaos books.
Yeah, very much so.
That's what they are. It's great. The skirmish-based games where like your little war bands evolve over time. So they gain like rewards and mutations and new followers and lose followers along the way as characters die. So you get this entire mythology accruing around your warband as they have their skirmishes and they find treasure and they get either blessed or afflicted by their gods, you know? Yeah. It's good fun. It's good fun.
It seems that there's a heavy influx of more time going to be in this as well.
Which is no bad thing.
No, definitely not.
Got the new Furies as well.
Yeah, the new Furies Dogbird Saw.
With the Dogbird Saw, yeah, which is very cool. Looks like he should have a rider.
Yeah, we discussed that, didn't we? That I really
want
to see a goblin
he looks like he
him.
needs he needs a saddle, doesn't he?
Oh,
he needs a saddle on his back.
What I'd be really interested in if Warcry is going to be something that brings a lot of beasts in.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I'd like to see just creatures. Yeah, they're not, here is the Griffhounds for the Stormcast, but more along the lines of, here is a thing that lives in the forest. Here is a thing that lives in the jungle. Here is a thing that lives in the sea. You know, just getting just random creatures out, because there's a couple of reasons for this. One, I love just monsters. I love monsters.
Yeah, and the Mortal Realms is very good. It's a very good setting for just having monsters, isn't it?
It is.
Because we know they exist. We know they're out there. We know there are like dragons and children of the god beasts and just all sorts of creatures out there in the world. So why not?
Look at Pestilence. There's a giant worm that has a city living on its back.
Yeah, just I would love them actually to do at one point a battle tome that's just full of random monsters.
Oh, how cool would that be?
That can be in any army.
Oh, George. Oh,
you know?
Yes.
Why not?
Come on, I want that.
Why not?
Oh,
I mean, you have that anyway with a lot of the forces. If you look at the Beasts of Chaos, there's just tons of monsters in there, loads of stuff, chimeras and manticores and all sorts of wonderful beasties. But why not have that for everyone?
Yeah, some kind of non-aligned monster book. You can take a certain amount from. Oh yeah, that would be so good. But
why not?
But between that and the fact that we know there's an AOS RPG coming out, I would love to just have a ton of miniatures for that.
Yeah, totally.
That would be so much fun. But yeah, I mean, the Bird Dog Saw is beautiful. I think he is. He's just the right side of silly.
Yes, just the right side. He works, doesn't he? He just works. And of course, I mean, we've got the implication with the symbols that they released that there's going to be lots of new armies released for this system.
Well, it's quite cool. So the first thing that popped up was a picture for Warcry, and it has a 3 arrows and barbed wire type symbol, and around that there is 5 other chaotic-looking symbols.
They're all chaotic, aren't they? Like, the one on the upper left is the Beast of Chaos symbol. The one below that is snakes intertwined, so that could be Slaanesh, or it could be something to that effect. There's the Chaos Eye underneath, which is just a universal chaos symbol. There's a skull with a chaos symbol, which could be Khorne, I suppose.
Yeah, could be.
And then there's the bird symbol, which is usually Zeech.
Yeah. And then there's one that looks a bit nurgly as well.
Yeah.
But what's also interesting is the fact that on release there will also be rules. Now, this is something we didn't know last time. We were trying to work out, is this going to be an expansion or whatnot?
Yeah.
What it is they're going to just be bringing out rules for other races as well. So probably not miniatures for a while. But there will be rules to make the
That's
Warcry.
cool.
Yeah.
So you can just use your AOS miniatures,
Totally. And
cool.
And considering how much I love skirmish and modelling for skirmish games, that's something I'm really into.
Yeah,
because
totally.
it could end up being that I build skirmish forces for every chance that you can.
I mean, well, it's a very cost-effective way of doing it. It means you can focus on the miniatures themselves. Make them like little works of art, you know. And there's the narrative element, which is slightly it's enhanced in the skirmish games as opposed to the wider scale war games, obviously.
Yeah. And as a man who is now on like clan rat number 120 at this point. Yeah, I always promised myself I was never going to do this again. I was never going to paint this many in a horde army ever again.
Yeah.
Crikey.
Yes. I mean, speaking of like the bigger armies, one of the big surprises for me was Apocalypse for 40k.
Yeah.
What's that about? I mean, I thought Apocalypse was gone because really the 8th edition rules are good enough that you can already do this. So what is Apocalypse going to introduce, I wonder?
Well, movement trays for a start.
Movement trays, which are probably necessary.
Yeah, when you got something this. I don't know, because Apocalypse is one of those things where I've always struggled with Apocalypse. It becomes too big. Because
it's too big, and I can't, wield it. And, I mean, it's great that it's there, because it does allow you to play these just ridiculous battles.
Oh, yeah. If this is your jam, then brilliant,
But it's not my thing. No. It's way too much work. Physical work, just setting it up, moving the bloody things around, Can you imagine playing the Thousand Suns on this scale?
Actually, no, I can't.
With all of the spells that each sorcerer model has, and trying to keep track of them.
Yeah, the spells, the buffs, all of that.
How would you ever do it? You would need a system.
Tentacles.
You would need a system, or you would be screwed. You would defeat yourself.
Yeah, you really would.
Because you'd forget so much, So yeah, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it.
God, there better be a counter system in this because I can't think of.
Oh God.
And of course,
I mean, they're talking about as well here, the future. There's another little bit where they're talking about the second book in the Vigilus series, which is out now, obviously. Mm-hmm. But they suggest that there's going to be a lot more going forward.
Yeah.
And that this is the way they're going to move forward the Warhammer 40,000 situation and the game system through campaigns based around different worlds and solar systems and whatnot. Very clever, very interesting.
Yeah, there's one of the things that really gets me when it comes to what Games Workshop's doing at the moment is they are very much pushing both 40k and AOS as how a narrative should be, how a living, breathing system needs to look.
Absolutely,
We're seeing that with the Vigilus campaign.
By the way, which are the best books out there.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
They're really good. This is how they should have been doing campaigns for years, quite frankly. Because they're using them to update the armies that need updating, but also to move forward the situation, to move forward the narrative. And they're good reads. They're really good fun. Vigilus Ablaze is just full of stuff.
Yeah.
It's hard to take it all in, actually. It's just full of stuff.
There's actually too much there to try and comprehend and ingest.
Absolutely. I mean, we made an effort last episode, but there's way more than we spoke about. Way more.
Vigilus has been just superb, left, right, and centre.
Yeah, it's been the best campaign they've ever done.
But not just because of the campaign either. The campaign setting has been fantastic.
Oh yeah, just the way they've organised it, the way they've used it, it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely wonderful.
So then, I think that's going to be pretty much everything that we needed to discuss. We actually managed to do it in less than 2 hours.
There's one more thing.
Is there?
There's something really big that we missed.
Oh God, what did we miss?
Really huge.
I'm sorry.
Well, did you know, Adam, that, sad news, I'm afraid, really sad news. And you may know this, I mean, it's been around the internet for a long time, but Games Workshop are squatting Slaanesh.
I have heard of this. Are you saying that there was some form of Slaanesh confirmation that it's gone?
Not. Yeah, absolutely. Total confirmation. It's way too adult. It's way too ambiguous for the current generations of players. So they're just totally squatting Slaanesh. There is not going to be any new miniatures, no new battle tome or anything like that, because it's just not in keeping with the ethos of the company anymore. And we have this on good authority from various websites that have been pushing this narrative for the last couple of decades. So, that's totally happening.
In an alternate reality, though, in an alternate dimension, there's some Slaanesh stuff, isn't there, George?
There is. There's the Hedonites of Slaanesh, and it's like they called them the Hedonites. I mean, it's almost like they know. It's like they've read all of the crap that's out there, these narratives that have been pushed for the last God knows how many years, and said, "Oh yeah, right, fair enough. We'll just go deep with them then. We'll call them the Hedonites and we'll emphasise the hedonism of them." And I've got to say they've knocked it out of the park.
They really have.
I was worried about the Keeper of Secrets. I was really worried because it's the hardest of the greater demons to realise. They've always had trouble with it. They've always had trouble capturing the simultaneous grace and disturbance of it, the beauty and the bestiality of it. But they've done it. For me, this is one of the best Slaanesh miniatures they've ever released.
Agreed.
It's gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It's sinuous. It's graceful. It's just humanoid enough, but it has the suggestion of a sort of bestiality about its features.
Mm-hmm. Also, it looks a little bit like Freddie Mercury at times.
Yes. Sometimes it can look a little bit like Freddie Mercury, which is absolutely perfect, obviously. Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait to see what they're doing with the Slaanesh miniatures and the Slaanesh background. I mean, there's a whole battle tome coming. It looks like, thus far, we don't know, but it looks like they're going to be primarily demon-based.
It looks that way, yeah. Which
is interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting way to take it, and they're going to separate them into the 3 different types of Slaanesh force that are out there at the moment. The ones that are seeking Slaanesh, the ones that don't give a shit, and the ones that are trying to supplant Slaanesh, basically. So that's fun. So you're going to get different variations of a Slaanesh force in the mortal realms. I wonder what they're going to do with it narratively as well, because it looks like, from the material we've got, it looks like Slaanesh is going to get released, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think Teclis is going to do something stupid.
He's going to trip over one of the wires or something, you know?
He's just going to be talking to Tyrion. He's going to lean back, eating his sandwich, and accidentally press the big red button that says "Do not press."
Do not press. Yeah, that's exactly. He's gonna drip coffee onto the console, and that's going to be the end of it, isn't it?
Yeah, we'll play Minesweeper.
Yeah. But there's also loads of other stuff as well. There's not just the Keeper of Secrets.
No.
A whole new miniatures range. New Mask of Slaanesh. This really weird new Demon Prince of Slaanesh that's like a very, very big humanoid figure with what looks like a Herald of Slaanesh whipping it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. So it's got a sort of sadomasochistic quality about it.
What I love about that one is,
yes,
if you look at the face, there's a couple of things I love about it. I mean, look at the tattoos, for example, the scarring tissue, so to speak. But if you look at the face, he reminds me of the tall man from Phantasm.
Actually, he does a little bit.
I can't remember the guy's name. He has "You played a good game, boy." But there's a huge Clive Barker influence in how, not as much the design, I don't know how to put it. There's something in the posing. There's something in the
facial
silhouette
expression
of it.
Yeah, the ethos of it. Yeah,
it's almost like here is the normality as the normality shifts. If that makes sense.
Yeah. They're the most human of the demons. That's definite. Which the Slaanesh ones always were. It makes sense for them to be so, you know. We've got that bizarre serpentine mirror thing.
Yeah, what is that?
I don't know, but it's very cool.
It really is. I mean, how beautiful does it look?
Yeah, I know. They're going to be a very beautiful force. That's very clear. Very, very clear indeed, which makes sense, of course. Because they need to be. They need to be as beautiful as they are disturbing. Yeah. That's how Slaanesh works. But it's not... I mean, this is going to be my force in AOS, definitely. I will be collecting the Hedonites at some point. But it's also what they imply about what's coming later. If they're releasing this stuff in AOS, there is going to be 40k stuff too.
Yes, without a doubt.
So my guess would be Codex Emperor's Children, somewhere down the way.
Probably the same month, I think, as the Hedonites.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. So we may even start seeing suggestions of Fulgrim before long.
Do you know what's interesting? And I've only just picked up on it now.
What's that?
Have you noticed the Grand Ball motif that's going through everything?
Yes, there is a sort of carnivalesque, party-like atmosphere. Yeah, a lot of the demonettes have got ruffs. They've got tatters of silk and like dresses and things. Yeah, they look ornamental and as though they're dancing.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on this last time where I looked at these. I've just picked up on it now.
There's a slightly almost like Jim Henson's Labyrinth quality to them, you know?
Yeah.
which I really, really like. They're all in motion. They're all moving, which is exactly how they should be. It's exactly how they should be. You can't have static Slaanesh miniatures.
No, well, the most static one's actually the guy, isn't it, being whipped?
Yes.
Weirdly enough.
And even he's got suggestions of motion throughout. So, yeah, it's cool. I love the pose they've given the Keeper of Secrets as well, that sort of languid stalking towards, you know? It's almost as though it's laying down its arms and it's saying, why fight, you know?
Yeah, you can imagine it talking to you as it's walking towards you.
Which they do, which we know they do, of course. They whisper and they try to seduce and to sing to their victims, you know?
And, of course, there's the endless spells as well.
Oh, which are great. Yeah, they seem to emphasize like the different dynamics of Slaanesh. So there's one of them that's totally Hellraiser.
Oh yeah.
It's all hooks on chains, you know, it's all hooks on chains. And there's the weird mirror again.
I'm liking the mirror influence that's happening here.
Yeah, well, it makes perfect sense for Slaanesh, of course. You know, you've got the whole vanity thing going on.
I love the rings on the hand that's holding the mirror as well.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very cool indeed. There's also a suggestion in some of the photographs of the that are in the video of a scenery piece.
Yes.
It's a big Slaanesh symbol on top of a pile of gold and jewels and whatnot. So what that's going to do, I don't know.
Not sure. Sorry, I'm just looking at the Keeper of Secrets again in
yeah,
detail.
it's gorgeous, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful.
Every time I look at it, I find something new.
Yeah, it's a stunner. It's an absolute stunner of a piece. They've got it bang on for me. Bang on. And this means that now the greater demons, all four of them, are in the best place they've ever been because they each have their perfect miniatures out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You know? All of the current generation of the greater demons are just spot on. Every single one of them are pristine and beautiful.
Oh, you'd want to do some kind of four-way battle between them, wouldn't you?
Oh god, yeah. To see, I mean, at the moment, they some of them need their rules updating. Like the Keeper of Secrets definitely does, which they will, obviously. I mean, because like the new miniature's out, so they will update it. But at the moment, yeah, it'd be very interesting to see which one would come out on top. I mean, on one, the Bloodthirster would.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Because the Bloodthirster is a nightmare. If you could get it into combat, that is, it's an absolute friggin' nightmare. But then you've got to consider like the Lord of Change's spells, which give it a distinct advantage, or the Great Unclean One's durability.
Yeah. Well, the Great Unclean One can hit from afar with all sorts of horrible plagues and whatnot.
It certainly can. It certainly can. So it's difficult to say. They've each got benefits. Like the one that would get into combat first is the Keeper of Secrets because it moves so quickly.
Like a greased lemming. It's so fast. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, we've been talking about this since the Fluffenhammer started. We've been talking about this and like, you know, saying that it's going to happen. And I do feel that maybe there was some doubt as to whether it was going to happen or not, you know, in the wider community. But
ta-da!
It's happening.
And now that Slaanesh is out, we're calling it a day. We're done now. We've done what we came here to do.
This is all it was ever going to be, I'm afraid, ladies and gents.
This was just a electronic summoning rite for Slaanesh.
Yep, we're done now. Welcome to the last episode of the Fluffenhammer. No, it's not. It's really not. No, there's always going to be stuff to talk about. There's always going to be stuff. Of course, it's not the last episode. But yeah, it's so exciting. It's so exciting. Slaanesh is my favourite of the Chaos Powers. I've always loved the aesthetic of Slaanesh, and they've got it right. They've got it right at long last. It took them a while, but they've got it right. Speaking of which, have you seen the new rumour engine that looks suspiciously like Fabius Bile's coat?
And have you read this month's White Dwarf yet?
No, why?
Doopy-doopy-doo, he says, just opening up White Dwarf. You may want to look at the letters page in the Ask the Grombrindle. Right?
Right.
In fact, what I'll do is I'm just going to read you the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How are you doing? I'm wondering, can you have Primaris Heretic Astartes? And if so, how can they be in armies that went rogue during the Horus Heresy? And Grombrindle goes through his usual stuff, you know, a little bit of insulting, a little bit of laughing, a little bit of, mocking elves. However, more worrying, however, is the interest that Fabius Bile has taken in them. I reckon it won't be long before he gets his hands on one and starts experimenting.
Oh dear. So are we going to get like Fabius Bile and then a cohort, like a bodyguard of Chaos Primaris?
I think so. I think that
spicy,
so
interesting.
Between the Rumour Engine and Games Workshop doing what they've got very good at doing now, which is laying down hints in the most
dropping hints.
Ridiculous of places.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, my guess is they'll be very limited, so they'll just be like a one unit.
Yeah.
Like a bodyguard for Fabius Bile. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But it'd be very interesting to see what he does with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very much so. The fact that what I've really enjoyed since 8th edition 40k is seeing how they're getting around the Primaris scale.
Yeah, totally.
With Nurgle's Death Guard, how they got away with it is by swelling them up into these enormous proportions.
That's right, yeah.
With the Black Legion, they've
mutated
them.
Yeah,
they've kind of just made them look just so ornamental that the size difference,
the scale,
it doesn't really seem that different. Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter, does it? No, it's very clever, actually. And it makes sense for the Chaos Space Marines, because they're swollen with the powers of the warp, They are mutated. It's a good way of bringing them up to code, you know?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Although I did watch a fantastic video where it had a Primaris versus a World Eater. Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, God, yeah.
Because those World Eaters are like 20 years old at this point.
God, the Khorne Berserkers, come on, guys.
They're so tiny.
The Khorne Berserkers they so need updating.
It was fantastic.
They so need I mean, I remember when they came out, and they were brilliant at the time. I mean, they were the first of the plastic kits you could really go to town on. You could really convert to the nth degree. But they are so old now.
Yeah. Well, they came out before I took my hiatus, and my hiatus was like 15 years. You know,
me too. They came out before I went to university. I mean, bloody hell, I was at high school.
Yeah, actually,
when they came out.
Good Lord.
I was at high school. I remember sitting in my history class and sneaking peeks at the White Dwarf. That they appeared in for the first time.
No, it's history. It's just history of the future millennium.
Exactly. That's a very good excuse.
Blink, blink, blink.
It's a very good excuse.
So then, we, I think, have then covered everything that we needed to cover.
I think we've exhausted that and more, to be honest.
So we're going to finish off then with the thing that I've really been enjoying doing, which is the Fluffenhammer Asks.
Hey!
Only one response for this one, but then the question was a little bit silly. So it was just basically trying to build up an idea of the other 4 Chaos Gods. The 8 sides of Chaos. So we've got the 4
As an
Chaos
aside,
Gods.
do you know they did try to introduce 4 other Chaos Gods at one point?
They did indeed, and that idea got binned very quickly.
It got binned really bloody quickly, I can tell you. People did not like that at all.
No, they did not. I've got a better one for this week, but I'll read out the one entry we got, which is from Christopher Carlson on the Facebook. He says, This time I will try to stick closer to canon. So, firstly, we have the Horned Rat, god of entropy, and, well, rats. Still trying to get into the 40k verse, but that just ends up with Skavens drilling into the vacuum of space. Then we have Hastus, who got robbed by Khorne and Slanesh when it comes to war, smithing and greed, leaving him as only the forgotten god of darkness. Lost most of his 40k followers when the squats got nommed. We have the nameless paradox god of atheism, because that's chaos for you. Could be Malal, but nobody knows.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. I like that.
I like the idea of a god of atheism. That's something I like.
Me too. I think that's hilarious, actually. I think that's a great concept.
And lastly, we have the big twist, the chaos god of order, the Anathemia, a.k.a. the god emperor of mankind, or in AOS land, Sigma.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I could go for that.
Because I'm a huge fan of that theory, and the Legion of the Damned are his demons, and Celestine is his demon princess.
There's mounting evidence that even if he isn't like a power or a god, he will be at some point.
Yeah.
I.e. when the Golden Throne gets turned off.
Which it might have already been done.
They might have already been done, yes.
Even if it's just a shard of his soul or whatever is going on. Hell, that would make for a fun mirror match in a impossible future. Yeah, so I'm actually all over this as an idea, Christopher.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
I really like the idea as well. And I like the notion of calling him the Anathema, which is what the demons call him in the Horus Heresy. they call him the anathema because he is like the anti-chaos entity.
Yeah. He is the everything that chaos doesn't want, which is interesting because if you think about the 40k universe, there is only one thing that chaos really doesn't want, and that's the Tyranids.
Order. It's order. It's sterility. The only thing chaos doesn't want is sterility. And what the Emperor represents is monotheism, essentially, against their paganism. So it's one god, one way, one set of rules, one way of living, which they can't abide, obviously.
No, but in doing so, they cause the friction that they love so much. And that's why I think the Chaos Gods have a love for the Emperor. So it's like, you keep doing your thing. We hate it. We hate what you're doing. But the more you do it, the more people try to push against the yoke.
Exactly. And so it creates this situation where they're getting stronger.
Thank you for lunch. You know.
Yeah, cheers for the last 10,000 years.
You moron. Yeah.
You wanker. Yeah. Last 10,000 years has been just delicious.
All you could eat buffet. It hasn't been this good since the Eldar learned how to get real king cake.
By the way, thank you also for creating our strongest and most dedicated followers. That's just brilliant. Thank you so much, you know?
Cheers for Horus.
Yeah. Cheers for basically the Demon Primarchs and for the Chaos Space Marines, you know?
Even the Eldar did not fall this far. Good lad.
No,
Good
they
lad.
didn't. Yeah. No, they didn't.
So, for this one, because I've been talking a lot about RPGs this week.
Yes.
And we know that there is an AOS RPG coming out. The 40k RPG launched this week. Was it last week? And the new version of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay has been out for a couple of months now. So here is my Fluffenhammer asks. Hashtag Fluffenhammer asks. I want you to create a character to use in any of these 3 RPG systems, but I want you to make the most lowly character that you can think of.
Okay.
Right? We're talking full-blown shit farmer, you know. But I want you to stay within the realms of the fiction.
Right.
So you can't just create, I don't know,
like a molecule or something, you know, like a sentient bit of dirt or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just create. Here is Farmer Boy who lives on this one planet and he's never going to go anywhere. You know, I want you to embed it into the world and the system.
Yeah.
But I want you to...
So he's like maybe like a space marine that should never have been a space marine. Yeah. That was selected by accident or something. Just managed to somehow bluff his way through all of the trials and whatnot, and is now like the clumsiest, stupidest space marine ever.
Yeah, something like that. The example I came up with when I was thinking about this is a young lad lives in a town in the realm of life. His job is every morning he has to go out and just get the snotlings off the farmlands. Yeah, he's got like a little broom with a spike on it, and he's just going to go
and that's his special weapon, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just trying to get all these little snotlings. You know,
so basically, I suppose the parameter is something you could actually play.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way of putting it. So
something that would work. You could play that character.
Yeah, you could. It has to stay within the fiction, has to stay within the rule sets. But I want you to make an absolute shit farmer. You know, it has to be the lowliest character you can think of.
Brilliant. Someone who the dwarf who has to clean out the latrines on the Karaj.
There we go. Now you got it. That's the one.
Yeah, that kind of guy. Yeah, he's got a plunger, maybe.
And I want to hear his story. I want to hear his name, and I want to just have a go with it. It's good fun.
The sweeper of the forge for the Duardin, yeah?
Yes.
It's got to clean the ash out of the forges and everything.
Yes, perfect. The carriage on limpet scraper, you know.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, can you imagine being one of the mortals that has to clean up after the Death Guard or after the forces of Nurgle?
The flesh mopper.
Jesus, God. Oh, the Slanesh followers. Oh, my God.
Oh, the anti-fluffers, yeah. Oh.
Can you imagine?
Oh, you need more than Domestos.
You would need a lot more. You would need, like, every vaccination going if you were following the Slanesh followers. Bloody hell. Full hazmat suit.
But it's a hazmat suit with the groin cut out.
God, can you imagine?
It's entirely made of black leather.
One of the most wretched would be like one of the gardeners of Nurgle that has to keep the garden in order, surely.
Yeah, actually.
That would be a thankless task, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the Nurgle's gardener. I mean, you've got Slimeox.
Horticulous. You've got Horticulous, yeah.
But he's more of an experimental gardener. He
plants the garden, doesn't he? He doesn't, like, keep it in order. He like, makes it flourish. But someone who's got to clean it up... God, that would fit with the Plague Bearers, actually, because they are kind of morose. You can imagine him grumbling, can't you, as he goes about it. It's like, bloody great unclean one came through here again the other day, I see.
Oh.
Didn't clean up after himself, did he?
Oh, the bloat flies once again have come and shat in my general path. Oh.
You can imagine him being kind of get off my lawn, can't you, to, like, the Nurglings, Oh, you lot! Get off with you!
Oh, dear. Looks like the Nurglings have been in and eaten all of the meat again.
Oh, you're going to make him sad? Instead of angry, make him sad. Oh, no.
I was angry once, but then I just found a load of bloat flies in my shed. Ugh.
Yeah, that could be fun.
I went down the Mortal Realms the other week. Yeah. I got banished.
Is it? You could even do like the skeleton that's got to carry around the necromancer's hat or something, couldn't you? You know. Or the little guy, the acolyte who runs after the Zetian sorcerers, carrying all of his scrolls and his books and can't quite carry them all. You know.
You see, what I'm thinking of now is a necromancer who, he's got all of the theory. Because we've all met somebody like this. He's got all of the theory. He knows all of the theory, but he has no actual...
no, like, skill at all.
He just cannot make that jump.
Brilliant. So he just gets it wrong, basically. So he's trying to raise a skeleton, and what happens is he summons some demon from the outer realms or something.
No, he always gets it. So what you get is just like a pair of skeleton legs walking around, but no body. Yeah. He's just like followed by thousands and thousands of skeleton fingers.
Yeah.
It's like walking on little worms.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's the whole Sorcerer's Apprentice thing, isn't it? That's what you're going for, Brilliant, yeah.
Oh, man. So, yeah.
Lots of fun.
There we go.
Lots of fun.
So that is for you guys to answer, and we'll read it out on the next episode.
Brilliant.
Honestly, I could sit here and talk. One of my favourite things in life is character creation.
In RPGs, it's the best thing. It's loads of fun. Loads of fun. One of my RPG players is currently playing a druid who hates nature. He's the anti-druid.
That's awesome.
It's great fun. He's perpetually tormented by his own capacity to feel nature around him. He hears like whispers and whatnot in his head all the time. He can sort of feel the growing of trees and the scuttling of insects and the animal minds around him, and it drives him mad.
That's brilliant. Love it.
It's good fun. And role playing him is hilarious. You know.
Oh man! Once the wedding is done. And the honeymoon is over. When I get back, the first thing I'm going to be doing is set up an RPG. I'm champing at the bit to do some RPGing.
It's got to be done. I think it would be a great show. I think people would go nuts for it, to be honest, because it could be really good.
Yeah, I've been listening to the Glass Cannon podcast recently. They run a Pathfinder. They're now on like 200 episodes, and it has fired up my urge to RPG so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving running my campaign, I've got to say, my D&D campaign at the moment. It really is fun.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Right.
Anywho, I think that's one for another show.
Yes, I think so indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, as always. Yes. And, George, thank you for taking the time this morning.
Absolute pleasure, as always. More so this morning, of course. Absolute and undeniable pleasure this morning.
This has probably been the longest show that we've done, and hopefully it'll be the longest show that we ever do. Coming in at nearly 2 hours. Eek.
Cool.
Right then. So, with all that being said, you can find us at fluffenhammer.weebly.com. You can find us on Instagram at The Fluffenhammer. You can find us on Facebook, The Fluffenhammer, both group and page. You can find us on Twitter at The Fluffenhammer. You may notice a trend here. Find us, review us on iTunes, because I've noticed that whenever somebody leaves us a review or a star review, our listenership actually spikes. We go up a couple of levels. Brilliant. So the more people that review, the better we can get.
Absolutely. Go forth and review.
Indeed.
Please.
And what we're going to do later on in the year is, if you leave us a review, there's going to be a raffle. And I'm going to start giving out prizes to people who leave us reviews.
Cool, that's a brilliant idea.
So, yeah, that way we get something, you get something. Everybody's happy. Also, we have a Patreon. The Patreon gives you the Patreon-only shows, which, granted, due to real-life commitments at the moment, that's slowing down a little bit. But you also get access to all of the shows that we've done in the past and all of the high-quality MP3 readings that I've done, as well as some other bits and bobs. You also get the entirety of Season 1 of Crawlhammer, our experiment, shall we say. Not entirely successful, but we learned a fair bit. Our Season 1 of Crawlhammer, which was an RPG using the rule sets from the Silver Tower game.
So cool.
It was very, very silly. Yeah. I'm going to attempt to... and all that being said, then, we are going to get out of here. Thank you so much for listening, and good night.
Bye-bye.